SAGA Egmont presents Death by Dark Waters by Joe Allen, read by Luke R. Francis. To Alan, Ian, and Ellen. 1. A hot Sunday in the dying embers of a hot summer. Thunderclouds, squaring up in the west a dozen miles beyond Helvellyn, massed shoulder to shoulder in preparation for an assault and a breeze, scorching and stiff as a desert wind, crushed the fellside. Standing on the top of Harter Fell, Jude Satterthwaite breathed in the free, fresh breaths of the just and looked down on the dark sliver of Haweswater. "Okay, Mikey?" He turned to his younger brother, who was perched on the cairn, snatching a sullen selfie and frowning at the phone before sighing and thrusting it back into his pocket. At 20, Mikey had outgrown the awkwardness of his teenage years, but he'd carried the resentment of authority onwards into adulthood and showed no sign of letting it go. He grunted and slithered down from his rocky perch. "Let's get back down to the pub. I'll let you drag me up here, so the least you can do now is buy me a drink." "Fine. We'll go and get a pint." Jude lingered, staring northwards. The caustic taste of ash caught at the back of his throat. A haze, part heat, part smoke, hung in the shimmering air, and a low pool of smoke cast a dark shadow over the water, far below them on the opposite side of the lake. Another fire, by the look of it. Always alert to anything out of the ordinary, he took a second, longer look, as if there was something odd about it. But there was nothing there to justify his suspicions. Mikey took his phone out again, stared at it, sighed once more, and returned it to the pocket of his shorts. The backdrop of the fire, its thin, bright line already attracting blue flashing lights along a lakeside track towards it, drew no more than the most casual glance from him before he set off back the way they'd come, sliding his brother a sideways look as he did so. He could be naive and clumsily poor at communication, but he was bright enough to know that the two of them never ended up on these walks without some kind of attempt at a heart-to-heart. Reading that glance as the opportunity he'd been looking for, Jude stepped onto the downward path behind him, tossing out a tentative invitation to chat. "Everything going well with you?" "Sure. Everything's always fine." "You know what I mean." The blue lights had come to a standstill now, and a helicopter joined the fray, swooping low over the lake, dangling a bucket from its undercarriage. Jude's professional interest was caught. It might be a fresh fire, but it was attracting more attention than most of the others, probably because the nearby village meant there was more at risk than a few acres of bracken and the odd unlucky sheep. He reckoned the fire service had a fighting chance of stopping it before it reached the clustered bungalows of Burnbanks. If they didn't, then come the morning, he or someone else would almost certainly be dealing with the after-effects of someone's misplaced idea of fun. "I wondered if there's anything you want to tell me. Any problems? Anything I can help you with? You know I'm always here if you need me." Reaching a dry stone wall across the path, Mikey was forced to face backwards as he swung himself over the stile. Once on the other side, he turned and leaned his elbows on the wall, staring back with a soot-black scowl, eyes narrow and hostile in a face that begged to be happy. "Jude, butt out. You're not my dad. Stop trying to be." "I'm not trying to be your dad. I'm trying to be your mate, because one day you're going to need one." He should pull back from the confrontation, but it didn't matter how often he told himself not to be heavy on the kid. He had to keep weighing in. This must be what parenthood was like, seeing someone you cared about charging their way to self-destruction and having to stand back and watch them learn their lesson the hard way. Except that Mikey never seemed to learn. "I've got plenty of mates." Yes, the wrong sort. Too late, Jude bit his tongue, but at least he'd stopped before he could mention Adam Fleetwood and doom the conversation still further. "Let's not go through this crap again. I'm an adult now." Mikey dropped down from the wall and turned his back, striding down the rutted path. Jude followed him, with a sigh at the expected response. He'd try again and be rebuffed, because
Sample complete. Ready to continue?